chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night. But watch me, baby, I'ma take it there. Tell ya I'ma stay the path. Tell ya I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Here we go. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night.
All right, guys, another exciting episode, the Mind Growth Mission. I have a super special guest, and this woman is amazing. She's been coming into her own for years and had a journey of self-discovery and reflection and things that led her to where she's at now. She's an artist, a healer, leader, entrepreneur, author, public speaker. And she has a spiritual journey that I can't wait for you guys to hear and see how you can benefit from it as well. But Brittany Mondido, it's a pleasure. Welcome to the Mind Growth Mission with David Schweigt, me, and it's good to see you again. It's been too long, but thank you for doing this.
I agree. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And guys, just that little bit right there, I know you hear her soothing voice. It's calming. And that's one of the things that really stood about her as an individual. She just has a way to allow herself in for you to be open, right? Like when somebody is just that natural of energy, I tend to steer towards those types of energies. And she really brings it. And a lot of things that you'll discover and find out here as you're listening. But Brittany, that's one thing I want to say that really stood out is just the energy you gave me. We met in Charlotte randomly on the streets. I think it was Halloween. I was dressed up. Me and my friends were all dressed up, and you were with a friend exploring the city, and we were just like, "Come hang." You know, I'm always kind of that type, believe it or not. So that's how I've been able to network a lot in my life, is these super random moments, and came full circle all the way here to this. So here you are. You're where right now exactly?
I'm in Lake Cuyamaca in California, in the mountains.
Thank you.
Right, and you're based out of New York mainly. Is that correct?
I am.
Okay.
New York City.
Yeah, New York City, and I'm here on the East Coast as well. New York's an easy flight out there, but I've yet to see you out there, even though I got several friends out there I've seen over the years since you and I have met. So next time I'm in New York and you're there, I'm gonna hit you up, meet your people out there. But but tell me, I mean, let's go into what you do now. Just give everybody kind of a brief synopsis, and then we'll dive into the earlier childhood and earlier years. But what is it that you're working on now, that you're doing currently?
Thank you. So we all have a reason why we're all here. And it took a while for me to understand what that actually meant. And I say that because, so my company, the parent company, is called the ARM Collective. And ARM, A-R-M, those are my father's initials. And my father raised me since I was 8 years old. So interesting story, when you and I had met, that's actually when my quote unquote, where I feel like my life began. And yes, I have a story and stories before that and experiences, yet it didn't feel like I was alive until now 5 years ago. 5 years ago. I met you 5 years ago.
Yeah, time flies for sure.
So if you think about that, everything can change in one moment. So imagine how much has evolved and alchemized in 5 years. And I say that because only a few months before you and I had met, did my whole entire life completely pivot. And I can touch on that now, but I do want to loop back into the ARM Collective. So it wasn't until I started meditating that those visions became more clear. The path to get there became more clear. And all I wanted to do when I sat with my heart is, I want humanity to feel what it feels like to be loved by a man like this. Meaning, not necessarily Give me 1 second.
All right.
Mary.
Yeah. I'm coming.
It's okay. Not so much around a man or a woman. It's about knowing what unconditional love actually is and being able to preserve that. Have you ever seen a baby and they're just happy and they play and they cry and they roll around and all the things? They don't judge you. We're not judging them, right? That is how my father has always shown up.
Oh, good girl.
So how can I create that for the world to experience and be nourished by? So in Arm's Reach, which is one of the companies underneath one of the collections under the Arm Collective, that's the Conscious Education Division. And the Arm Collective is a conscious evolution supporting healing and the evolution of humanity through heart consciousness. So what does that even mean? It means that we are so closed off from opening our hearts, right? And keeping ourselves separate because we find safety there versus softening and opening, right? In order for us to have that bridge. So it's really about disarmoring what's around it so we can actually be connected because that's the truth of who we are, right? And when you give yourself the spaciousness to experience that, that is when life begins. So it wasn't until a moment in silence that summer, right before you and I had crossed paths, that I had my own moment in silence. So I was in healthcare for over 10 years. I met my partner at the time and we fell in love. We quit our 9-to-5 jobs, 9 to 5, when it was really like 7 to like the following day.
Of course. Yeah.
We quit our quote unquote 9-to-5 jobs together, moved away together about 4 hours north of the city. And I had the relationship, the job, the house, the life, not actually knowing what the quote unquote life actually meant. So a moment in silence, months later, I'm sitting with myself, looking at the floors, Brazilian cherry wood, looking at the fireplace, and it didn't feel like it was my life. It didn't feel like I was living. It had nothing to do with my partner. It had nothing to do with the house. It had nothing to do with anything else. It wasn't personal to anyone else. It was personal to me. And it was that moment in silence that I went back to the city. And I didn't come back. So only a few months later, I met you. So I was, oh my goodness, numbed out. I was deeply numbed out. And I say that because I was so scared to feel what was here already, that if I even opened a little bit, I was scared that it would break. So everything that I birth into the world, so I'm working on my third venture right now, is to nourish humanity through heart consciousness. So whether that's through my books, whether that's through the membership, whether that's through coaching, whether that's through speaking engagements, whatever it is, even if it's taking a breath and we're next to each other on a train or the airplane, we're friends now.
Yeah.
We're friends now.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I trust that answered your question, and thank you for opening up the space.
For sure. So where I find people so interesting is the things, the challenges, the trials, the tribulations, the reasons, the why, you know, the why behind why they pursue what they're pursuing. So in your instance, meditation and silence and deep thought, obviously that's leading you different directions, to leading you to chasing these feelings and actually being in these feelings and knowing what that means for you. So some people believe that it's like significant events that have to happen to lead them there. So in your case, kind of what was some of the evolution to, hey, this isn't my life. This isn't what I'm here for. Where is that wake up, that awakening stemming from? And how did you get there?
Oh, I love this question. One word comes up and it's honesty. How honest are you willing to be with yourself? And breathing into that, because what appears often is uncomfortable.
Hmm.
The more honest you become, though, the more free you will be. And I say this with all of me, when you sit in silence. So for me, silence was not something that I ran to. I ran away from.
Fair enough. I mean, you live in New York City, so yeah, it's kind of
Oh,
hard.
yeah, that too. Yeah. Well, love that you brought that up. So in my book, I actually speak about I had to move into the country from the city for me to hear my own thoughts.
Mm,
I did not like them.
mm,
However, being in silence, being in the country, being surrounded by nature invites you into yourself. You cannot hide anymore. So any suffering that you do have, you will be presented and it will be offered to you as medicine if you receive it as the medicine that it is.
mm,
So being in silence, that's actually what was pivotal for me. It forced me, it demanded my attention, it invited me into being honest. Is this the life that I see myself living right now in this moment? If not, why? And what can I do in this moment? Again, it's in this moment.
mm.
So one of the things that has been so pivotal throughout the journey is it's called the arms method. Anything that you want to change, David, or anyone that's listening, 4 pieces. You become aware of it, or you can deny it. Accept or deny. So A is awareness. R is responsibility. Are we pointing our fingers? Are we blaming? Or are we owning it? Right? That's the space between. So we have A, R, the next is M. Making a different decision. Making a different decision, not the ones that we've been making or not making, because not making is also deciding,
True.
right? To then whatever that decision is, being able to surrender to it. How can we surrender to the decision that we just made? So the opposite, quote unquote, opposite pole of that is if we're not accepting it, we're denying it. If we're not owning it, not taking responsibility, we're blaming. If we're not making a decision, a different decision, we're not choosing, then we're refusing. If we're not surrendering to it, right? If we're not trusting in it, right? That means we're controlling it. So there's always a space between that offers you another way if you're willing to take that way. If you're willing to allow it to guide you. It's not about us guiding ourselves. It's about surrendering to a higher power, because we all know, even if it was for 1 second in your life, you know that there's something so much greater and more powerful in the world versus you. You're not the one that's directing your path. You can make choices along the way, yet we are being held by something so much greater. And we tend to lose sight of that. So if I'm going to say anything has helped me, it's that one word, honesty.
Love
If we
that.
want a tangible way, then we can use the arms method.
Oh, no, I love it. I love it. I mean, people are choosing oftentimes not to face their demons, not to face their reality, and they use substances, they abuse things, they lash out, they allow it to affect their relationships. And one thing for me recently in my life as well, even the last few years, I think there's a reason people like you and I connected. There's a reason me and you connected. A lot of that is because I was needing a journey myself to kind of figure out some of those things. What does every weekend look like? It looks like the weekend you probably saw me, where it's, you're partying every weekend. That was more of my identity then. And, I would always be the type to meet people and have new friends or have my close friends around and always able to go do the next fun thing, the next party. But I wasn't like searching deep within myself and really digging into what are these things that are fulfillment for my life that mean more than just the typical stuff I'm used to. Like, let me dig in there, let me dive in. And actually, I've always seek that internally, but in the back, right? It was a back seat driver type of thing. It wasn't really helping me make my decisions then and prior. And what it took, like you said, is a lot of that time to reflect, to read, to use others as a tool or a resource in respect and have great leaders around you. I've been lucky to have great leaders around me, but the one time that I had the switch flip a bit was when somebody invested their energy and time and effort into making me a better man, a better person, better leader, a better businessman, etc. And how they went about it, the way they invested in me, and for me to kind of discover some of that internal stuff really helped bring the best out of me to show what I was capable of. And then I started to flip a switch and like, okay, now that I know things are possible when you put that intention towards it, I can do even more and increase this, have this energy kind of fuel my day to day, fuel the things that I'm passionate about. And I can really dive into that. So having somebody do that to me now makes me want to do it for others. I'm sure same with you, but it's one of those things where like you connect the dots, right? When you take time to be quiet and reflect, you connect the dots. You know there's something there. You can't put your finger on it, but until you are able to put your finger closer to it or right on it, then you won't know actually what's there for you and what's available to you and what you're capable of. You really have to take that deep dive and really embrace the suck, embrace the stuff that is not healthy for you, understand what it does to you, understand what it's doing against you, how it's working against you, that it's not doing the things for you like you think. There's so many different ways to interpret things. And once you get real honest about what it's really doing to you and those around you, then you start to take action on the change that's necessary. And that's where I was lacking. Like, I knew whether things were good or bad or I should do it, shouldn't do it. But was I taking action or even small steps? No, because like things seem so far away for people. But like you said, it's that one step, it's that one thing, it's that one intentional focus. You put your energy there and then it leads to the other things. So tell me a little bit more about that journey for you, because the way you speak on it and it's so natural, you've done so much time within this realm of self-discovery. And you as a young woman out there helping others, doing things for the betterment of humanity, there's more to that story. There's more to that journey that I want people to understand, like, hey, this is how we find more of ourselves. This is what I'm doing to better myself so I can live a better life, which thus impacts others as well along the way. But where do you start, in a sense, like for you? And we can feed off of what you've already mentioned as well, but what else is it that's taking you to these next levels of bringing it, so to speak, and just being there and having this intention? What is it that impacted you in your life that maybe was some of those triggering moments to really be like, oh crap, like this is something I need. This is something that really got me at this moment. Or this is something when I look back at it, it really changed the trajectory. What are some of those moments?
There's a few things that come to mind. One thing along the journey that has been pivotal is forgiving myself. And it's not easy to do that when you're operating from a place of shame and guilt. Think about the things, and I'm in the somatic healing space. So working a lot with the body and the trauma that lives within our bodies, right? And one of the bigger pieces to that means, where are you operating from? And where you are operating from and seeing where you want to go, giving yourself permission to be that big. There's a lot of forgiveness in that space. So we're talking about space, right? Like, there's a lot of space. What do you want to do with that space? So for me, when I think about intentionality, with everything that I do, the relationship that I have with this water,
Sure.
every relationship that I have with a being, whether it's nature, whether it's the water, whether it's the laptop, it's intentional, it's conscious. And it's how you treat your things, how you treat yourself. Everything is a reflection. And it will always come back to, for me at least, is a lot of self-resentment that I needed to be within myself. So if someone slams the door, or if someone isn't taking care of their things, take note of how they take care of themselves, because that's also how they'll treat others. And it's not to look or feel guilty about or shameful about. It's really just being okay with the fact that you're human and forgiving yourself, allowing yourself the space to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about forgiveness, one thing that comes to mind for me is I was operating from a place of a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. And are you familiar with the vibrational scale? It's like shame, guilt, fear. Okay. So with that, the lowest vibration is that. So if you're operating from this, you're only going to create more of it. So if you're meeting shame with more shame, you're creating more shame. Just like if you're angry and you're meeting anger with more anger, you're creating more anger.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what you can do when you meet it with love. Or at least the willingness, which brings you halfway up the scale. So if I'm angry, or if I feel guilty about something and I'm meeting it with the willingness to see it different, you better believe it's going to guide me, and I'm going to feel a little bit lighter. And if I can love myself through that, you're rebuilding your relationship with yourself.
Mm.
So if I'm going to answer that in any way, it's spend time with yourself and get curious.
For sure.
Learn to like yourself, so then you can love yourself. You know, the second part of my book, it's who are you? Who are you really? So I want to know who you are without your pain, without your shame, without the fears, without the anger, right? Because we all have those layers. We just build them up like a shield. And we find safety, again, in a disconnection.
Yep.
But when we soften and we kind of peel like an onion, and we allow people to come in, and they allow us to come in, and we see each other for each other. Oh, I love that. See each other for each other.
Absolutely.
And you're looking at them with the soul, and you're identifying with that. We get to create quite a different world here. So I know I'm offering a lot. It's more so learn to like yourself. The things that you don't like about yourself, quote unquote, don't like about yourself, get curious about it. And know that you always have the choice to make a different decision. Let's just say, again, it's the arms method. I'm aware of this thing. I own it. It's not mom's fault, dad's fault, not anyone else's fault. I'm going to make a different decision from this point on. And let's just say that, I know you brought up addictions. We're also addicted to suffering.
Right.
No one talks about that, right? I was addicted to my own suffering. So really being honest with that, right? Because here's the thing, if you're not addicted to your suffering, then you need to be with your addiction. And then if you're not with your addiction, who are you going to be with? Yourself. Right? And we're scared of ourselves. We may think that we're scared of oh, I wonder what's there, but oh, I wonder what's there. Right? Like it's a different flavor, it's a different texture because we think that it's all dark. What about the light? What about the fire? What about the pleasure that you get to play with, right? There's so much there that we're actually scared of that too. So get to know yourself, spend more time with yourself, as scary as that may be, or as exciting as that may be. Some people that are listening, oh, I love being with myself. Ooh, what if you bring in another flavor of that? What if you're always with yourself, but now you get to be with others? That was my journey. Is I went into I was like a yes, 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 yes. Someone asked yes, 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 yes. People pleaser, yes, 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 yes.
Of course. Yeah.
Right? And what happens in that is I didn't know the balance. So it went from external to internal. So I went into like a deep isolation to then bridging the two. Again, it becomes a space and learning the balance with each evolution, because it's kind of like, think about the scale. And I'm not sure if this is going to be on video, but I have like my 2 hands up right now. And you're evolving and you're evolving, you'll need a bigger container. So the more your vision, so feminine, you have a lot of vision, a lot of fluid, you need a bigger and deeper container. So if you are evolving, right, and you're adding here, adding here, adding here, and you're adding here, adding here, adding here, you can create that balance by being very present with the evolution. Is that clear?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can dig deeper. I was just saying in terms of that. So yeah.
No, these are some of the things that I enjoy hearing, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and it talks about a lot of this in its own methods, its own way of wording it all and everything. And but it's all kind of the same when you think about like what you need to do, right? What you need to do to figure more of yourself out. And I love how you put rebuilding a relationship with yourself, because sometimes we do get so lost, right, on our journey. Things could be going amazingly from an outside world perspective. And then internally, we're just battling so much that we're not happy with about ourselves or about certain things in our life. And we're not taking the time to actually change that, to fill the right cup up or the left cup up, right? And that's where a lot of us get stuck. I mean, I've worked in sales and sales management my whole life, and now in the healthcare world, but you're always kind of selling, right? Regardless. But so many people would be on the brink of burnout, and it's because they weren't finding those things that they found enjoyment in life, and the gratitude every morning, every day, and gratitude in the things around them. They weren't using these things to fuel them, right? And to fill up their cup when you needed to. They weren't working on the other things in their life they could work on to help them get through these tougher situations or these battles that they were going through with sales, let's say. But that's where, there's so many different parts of your health you have to consider. Me and my brother have a lot of these conversations, and me and some of my friends do as well, about like mental, emotional, physical, how healthy are you in those realms? And then there's financial, of course, but how healthy are you in those? And part of the person who helped me along made me dive deeper into that and put it out there into the world, into the universe. Hey, what do we need to correct? What needs to get fixed? Like one thing at a time, one day at a time, one piece at a time. I mean, getting out of credit card debt was one of those things too, that they helped me really combat. And I think the emotional and mental health, and because I got to a point where I was so resilient, where I had no empathy left for people and things. And when that happens, there's something going on.
Yeah,
There's
for sure.
something else going on, allowing for that, right? So I had to enter back into what are these patterns, what are these cycles that are leading me down this path? What are some things that I could fix in my life or add to my life to really seek something more that, I don't think it's too late for anybody listening to this, right? You can always change and make an impact and be a great influence on others. And most people that are motivational and are people you want to learn from or hear from, they've done all the hard work. They've done the hard things. They've went through the tough challenges. They've had things that blindsided them in their life that were unexpected, right? So, speaking from that emotional aspect of it to help push them through is so needed, necessary. You have to find your fuel, and that's one thing I think I was missing. I was just not getting there. And then I had others to live such a good quality life in my eyes. And I'm like, they're not any smarter than me. They're not any more special than me. They don't have, any more skills than I do. Like, why can't I be like that or elevated or elevate whatever I wanted to elevate in my life? Well, that's when you start realizing, all right, well, these are my drivers, actually. These are things that are going to help motivate me. And then it's also just finding out what makes you tick. And a lot of people you're always discovering that, and it can always move into other spaces, I believe. But there might be something right now you could do that you haven't thought of yet that could really lead you down the right path. And that's what I had to do. I had to take some time to myself. I had to see the world a little bit more. I had to do some things, but I also had to realize, okay, I've been able to put goals out there, set these goals, work hard with intention to achieve these goals, put a time frame on them and achieve them. And then once I started to see that, I'm like, now I kind of get it. I kind of get how people end up bringing in the type of energy they want to their lives. So I did it from maybe monetary and physical, and more of the scale of, hey, what are these things that I can possess? And then I started to realize, like, that's not what makes me happy either. It's more of, what am I doing to better myself, to better those I come in contact with, where my energy spreads, where I find ways to make it something that others want to be around. I'm still, learning that. And that's something that when I see a great leader, there's various different reasons I find them great leaders. But one thing I think it comes down to, like you said, honesty, but honesty about, their lives and things that made an impact, and why. What's their why? What are they doing these things for? So when they can really speak at a high level on that, then I know, okay, I get what wakes them up every day, what brings them energy right away every day, because they're able to know these things. And, I think it's not a click moment for everybody either, but I do think it's something that you discover and can keep evolving with along the way. So, and another level, another devil. I've said that before. So every time you reach something good, there's something that it might take you a step back for a little bit, and you got to realize what that is and how you can turn things around on that. So I know it's not a smooth process as an entrepreneur, as somebody that's done the things you've done. What are some of these things that maybe blindsided you in those moments, but help propel you forward as well? That, let's keep it real. I mean, I mentioned debt for me. I mentioned relationships, why am I not building better relationships, more meaningful relationships, stuff like that I had to really dig into. Maybe what are some things you had to go through that at the time were just very tough, and then you had that epiphany, that realization, the self-discovery happen within them? What are some of those things?
Before I respond to that, I do want to loop back to when you speak about leaders. So I had a leader, I mean, I had many different leaders throughout my life. And second from my father has always encouraged me and supported me, as quote unquote, as crazy as my ideas were. He just supported me. And having that unconditional love and support is everything, especially when you don't know how to offer it to yourself. And the same applied to an old partner of mine, and we're best friends. He offered me the same thing. What I noticed about that was, how can I offer that to myself? Because then when you offer it to yourself, you notice what your attachments are. So that's one part. Two is, I had a leader at 2013, so I was 20, almost 23 years old. And I had two leaders. One, I had such a great idea for their business to I saw it as, I feel like there's so much opportunity because I believed in this doctor specifically, the whole practice, but one specific doctor. And I'm like, I feel like he needs to be everyone's doctor in the world. How do I get him in front of everyone? And it became my mission. So I'm seeing his patients, and I sat with him one day and I'm like, you need more offices. You need more people to see. We need to create, like, figure out how more people can see you without it draining him. Meaning there's only 24 hours in a day. How can we make this and create a sustainable, quote unquote, business, but more so for the community, for him to serve them? I wanted every person on this planet to see him. So he was like, all right, well, let's do it. Just like that. His partner was like, have you ever built a business before? And I looked at him. I mean, I did not. However, long story short, took this vision with this person and ran it home. Got a second practice, to then him seeing over 100 patients a day in this location, having better hours, having a bigger staff, bringing on more doctors. So whether it's pediatrics, so you're not referring out, bringing in a retina specialist or an oculoplastic surgeon, so you're not referring out, you're not referring to other people's surgeries, you have it all in-house. Basically creating this portal of where everyone can get served under his heart and care, just because he believed in me. And just because I believed in him. It makes all the difference when you believe, even if it's for a second, because it wasn't easy to do that. I had no idea what I was doing. He trusted me though, and I trusted in him. He was only a few years in to seeing patients, seeing the community, and I knew that he had yet to scratch the surface. And now, what is it? That was, oh my goodness, 10 years, over 10 years ago, really, over a decade ago. He's the doctor of my family. He just saw my niece this past weekend. And it's incredible just to know that he gets to do what he does and loves it. So what I would say when it comes to leadership is, he knew I wasn't staying there, and he put all of himself in me. And that is what a leader does. A leader wants to see the best in you and wants you to see yourself so you can be the best you that you can ever envision, and hold you to that vision. Not just have the vision, but hold you to that vision. Because when you are holding someone in that vision, they then hold themselves in it, and then you will get there. And then you'll have another vision and another and another, and you will always continuously evolve and get stronger along the way. So what I would
I
say
like
when
that.
we were speaking, yeah, thank you. What I would say, I mean, I was in debt after I left. I don't like to say the word left, more so parted ways from my partner. I was in debt. I was living in my own apartment with no furniture. And I just knew I needed to figure it out because the life I was living, I wasn't living. And I was done. I was done because that wasn't the first time I was suffering, right? It was just the first time I was honest with my suffering.
Mm.
And beneath that, I knew that there was something so much deeper that I wanted to give birth to. I had no idea what it was. And what I found there was this mantra. We all have a mantra. And mine was, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? When you keep asking yourself that question, you better believe you're going to find something that's wrong every single time that you go in. Every single time. So when I became aware of what's wrong with me, what's wrong with me, what's wrong with me, what if you just take a moment and not focus so much on what's wrong, but what gets to be, what's here now, and noticing that you are always learning. A big part of this is looping back into forgiveness, so you're not resenting yourself. Forgiveness. Even if you did something yesterday that you're not so happy about, forgiveness and moving forward. Because it's really our mind that gets attached to the past, right? There's not, if you cannot breathe into that experience, that means it doesn't actually exist.
Right.
So breathing into that,
Mm.
you know, and exhaling that and breathing into something different.
Love it.
So, yeah, so what I would say, not so much around the past few years as a quote unquote catalyst, it was really about reflecting on my past and learning to forgive along the way. So, a big part of this is forgiving my parents. And I say parents, not focusing on just one, because you're going to find things that trigger you and piss you off. Whether it's your mom, whether it's your dad, whether it's your guardian, whether it's your sister, your brother, a teacher from when you were younger, an old boss, you're going to find stuff that really pisses you off. And it's, have you ever read The Alchemist?
I know all about it, but no, not yet. That's on the list.
Oh, get it up there.
I've heard. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm looking at my
yeah,
books right here in the
yeah.
behind us here, but yeah, no, I've heard great things about that one. So it's on the list for sure. But what are your takeaways there?
One thing he says is dig where your tears fall.
Mm.
And anything that triggers you is a beautiful invitation. That means something's not integrated. That's why
Right.
you're triggered.
Mm.
So with that is really deep reflection and seeing what's hurting you. I'm really big on digging into this stuff when it comes to what keeps you from your heart. So
Hmm.
I speak a lot about suffering. I also speak a lot about love and everything in between. So in order for you to get to love in a deeper way, you need to dig where your tears fall, right? And be honest with your suffering. And with mine is kept creating separation and disconnection. I couldn't get, quote unquote, couldn't get close to other people because when I was 16 years old, at my sweet 16, my best friend got killed in front of me.
Mm.
And no one knew, if unless you were my family or you were my partner, no one knew for 14 years. I didn't speak about it out loud.
Mm.
So anyone that attempted to get close or anyone that attempted to want a friendship or anything at all was not allowed near me. It was not safe. I knew that, quote unquote, the story. I knew that if they came in, they were not there to stay. That went into my abandonment wound, the abandonment wound.
Mm.
They're not going to stay. They're going to leave. It doesn't last. Love isn't safe here. It is
Mm.
not safe here. And that's actually where I was operating from. So I couldn't build relationships with depth simply because it didn't feel safe. And to me, relationships were not safe. People were not safe. People equaled pain.
Mm.
So really being with the story that you tell yourself And after I started speaking about that, only then was the alchemy able to take place.
Mm.
So one thing that I share in Amos is it's the denial of your pain that keeps you in pain. It's
Mm-hmm.
the denial of your pain that keeps you in pain. So when we speak about what has really been the catalyst to my self-discovery, it has been compounded throughout my whole entire life. It was only until 2019 where I was tired of my own shit. So that's when things started to become, oh, this became a catalyst because I began to look at it. And then it alchemizes. Then you look at the next experience, because it all lives in your body. And then you create more of those experiences subconsciously because that is what your body knows. That is what it feels safe in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then that's where you go into the nervous system. Like we can go all nervous
Oh yeah, we
system,
can
but like,
deep
how do
dive
you feel?
for sure.
How do we get regulated in the space of your evolution?
Mm.
Because we don't feel safe in evolving.
Right.
We don't feel safe in our bigness.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we stay small. We stay small because we feel safe there.
Mm.
So when you ask the question around, I'm receiving it as like what has been the catalyst? It has been my pain.
Yeah.
It has been,
Mm-hmm.
and really transmuting all of that, getting to know your energy, getting to know what's nourishing you, what's not nourishing you, and standing by that with conviction. Meaning this is an absolute no for me. Sometimes I say it out loud. That's a no for me. Well, actually, I say it all the time. I'm like, that's a no for me. Or saying it out loud, that's a yes for me. Because then you get to know you're giving a voice to your yeses and your no based off of what your body is saying.
Yeah.
So if your body is like a ooh and it feels like a yes, call it out.
Yeah.
If it's a no, call it out and honor it. Honor that this is an absolute no for me. And there are so many no's that we stand by and so many no's that we're like, let's see what happens. And we linger and we hover and we want it to be something different.
Mm.
It's not until you honor your no that you'll get to see your yes.
Mm.
You gotta honor your yeses and your no's. You gotta honor what's here because your body tells you everything.
Love it. Yep.
So if you notice that you're like, and you're constricting, your body's saying no, and being able to not shame yourself for it,
Mm-hmm.
really honoring like, oh, well, that's a no for me. Beautiful. They both get to be beautiful.
Right.
They both get to be beautiful on the journey.
Yeah. It's more
So,
clear. It's put more clarity towards what you need to know about yourself.
that's right. Yeah. And that again loops into learning to like yourself so then you can love yourself.
Mm.
The foundation of my work, just so you know, everything that I speak about is about learning to love yourself. It's not easy.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. It is not an easy path.
Right.
100%. It gets more fun and playful. Like I love what I do because I knew I needed to make healing fun for me on my own journey, because healing and sitting in my own shit, just saying shit, sitting in my own shit was not fun for me.
Right. I get it.
That was not fun for me, and it's not fun for anybody. How can we create a balance between the shit and the play? And how do we not see it as shit, yet more so, this is necessary for my path, or else I wouldn't be moving through it right now. Honoring it. Like deep, deep honor. Same thing as a leader, same thing as each other. One thing Brene Brown says is, she says, people, people, people. We're all people. And I love that so much.
Oh yeah.
Just wanted to throw that in there.
Well, she's one of the best. Come on. So
Yeah.
makes sense to bring her up because it's so relevant in so many aspects. She's spoke on so many things. And as you're talking, though, I can't help but to think Love is Blind, the Charlotte season, comes out this week. I don't know if you watch those reality shows, but it's pretty entertaining for me to watch now. I usually don't watch those, but...
I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Go on.
All right. So, anyways, have you heard of Love is Blind?
So yes, and here's the thing. I do not own a television. I do not watch television. However, if I'm going to have any type of like guilty pleasure reality show, it is that. So that's why I'm laughing.
I mean, it's a good test, right? Like we're talking about like
Oh
the human
gosh.
emotions, like not seeing
Yeah.
somebody, but getting deep within who they are
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Like it's bringing my head there. But like Charlotte did their
Yeah.
season, it comes out Wednesday for Valentine's.
Wow.
But yeah, it's going to be entertaining. I know a couple people on there too, so it's going to be great.
Oh
But
wow.
but anyways, what I'm thinking about as you're talking is like dating and relationships and the
Yeah.
aspect of like I just feel like there's so many people that are dating right now that just
Mhm.
aren't ready to let somebody else in at all,
Yeah.
whether it's emotional or physical
Mhm.
or anything really, or it could be one or the other or what have you. But oftentimes I see that as a reflection of what are they doing to better themselves? Like, are they in a position to have that space for somebody else or not? And oftentimes
I love that.
I've noticed that it's they haven't took that time for themselves. So when somebody else brings up those triggers and those boiling
Mhm.
point things that like could really bother them, then they're unable to handle it, unable to grow through it because they haven't even figured out a lot of these things for themselves, right? So basically what I'm trying to get at here as far as like the dating culture world, things if you've heard from friends, clients, just maybe even yourself or your partner or what have you, what they've said recent. What's kind of holding back a lot of these relationships these days from being more genuine, more fulfilling, to be more loving, to be more just easygoing? Whereas, oh, they check all these boxes off that I need, and
Mhm.
that's the connection now. It's like so surface level that it's like insane to me. That's why these shows like Love is Blind has been doing so well. It's like, let's dig a little
Mhm.
deeper here. It's not surface level swiping right like on, you know, Bumble, Tinder, Hinge, all the dating apps, right? You're not doing that. This is like, let me actually get to know somebody and their value and their values and their morals and the things that they're really about. And how can I have fun with that? And in return, they should learn a lot about themselves, which on that show, for instance, they do say within this process of having these others open up and me opening up, I'm learning so much about myself and how that
Mhm.
feels, right? So, what do you think is going on in today's world where maybe it's a little more surface level than we like? What's your take?
Thank you for this question. A big part of my work is working with couples
Yeah.
through sexual polarity. And there's so much here. And I love working with it specifically because it's a choice to stay at surface.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been on a dating app, so I can't speak on behalf of a dating app. I personally need to feel you. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying that you can't feel someone through a dating app. Again, I can only speak on my own personal experiences. Um, what I will say is it is a choice to go deep with someone. Relationships are medicine. They are reflections. So I review relationships. Any relationship can be successful
Mm-hmm.
through consciousness. So I look at it as sacred union, conscious relationship. What does that mean? It means that if I'm with someone, you're with someone, whatever that may look like, we know that things are going to come up, yet I'm not expecting you to meet my needs because I know how to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not expecting something from my partner. This is different from standards. I'm not expecting you to do anything. A big key of this is being able to communicate your needs. And the only way you can communicate your needs is if you know them. If you don't know your needs, you cannot communicate them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in partnership and there's something that's bothering you, rather than holding it in or projecting and quote unquote, one of the things I love having conversations about is women complain. And I love this because oftentimes what happens is that I can see every relationship where it was complaining. I just didn't know how to communicate my needs. There's a difference.
Mm.
I'm complaining because I have no idea.
Mm.
I have no freaking clue. I'm learning myself along the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's us being in that process and not feeling like you need to get it right.
Mm.
Saying, I see you. And one of the things I love to do is looking into the left eye and looking at each other, seeing each other, feeling each other, and not needing to say a word. You don't have to say anything.
Mm.
There's nothing that you need to say. There's nothing that you need to do. You just get to feel. That's what makes it not surface, is being able to be
Mm.
in partnership consciously, accepting him or her just as she is, not trying to change him or her, and holding each other in your evolution. I want to know where and what you want to build in this world. I want to know who you want to be so I can hold you to that. And I want you to know the vision I have for myself and what I'm here to create so you can hold me to that too, because I hold myself to that.
Mm.
So it's not so much about completing each other. It's about complementing each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's about communicating. It's about walking this path. The way that I like to see it is you're walking this path to your own truth, right? Whether that be through God, whether that be through the universe source. And the closer you get to yourself through this transmission, the closer you will get to each other. And you can't miss that boat. So we may think that, oh, we're getting it wrong, or we need to fix this, or there's this that needs to be fixed, or she's doing this, or he's doing that. What if there's just no blame and it's just communication? Maybe I feel that I'm falling short in this way, or I feel like I need to be held by you right now. So the man is not only holding the masculine role, the woman isn't only holding the feminine role. They need to be able to hold and swap roles.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, I want my man to feel, and I want him to be able to hold me too.
Mm.
I want to be able to hold my man, and I want to be able to feel too.
Mm.
So how can you strengthen those two containers, those two expressions, those two poles, so you can hold each other along this path? It's the only way you'll be able to do it. And what is within that? It's choice. I choose this man, and remembering that. I choose this woman, and I remember why. So that's what makes it not surface, by choosing to go deeper.
Yeah, 100%.
Choosing to see each other through this stuff, because we all have stuff. Let's be real.
Yeah,
We all have stuff.
for sure. No, I want to dive a little bit deeper. You mentioned like the expectations. It's not the standards. So what are some of these examples and differences, the nuances there?
Mm. A lot of this has to do with attachment, meaning I know I need a man in my life that's going to be able to have a voice with integrity and open heart, that knows himself, that's devoted to his work, himself, and his partnership, right?
Mm-hmm.
So me knowing what I personally want and need by my side, whoever I'm with or whoever I'm calling in, whatever that may look like, and I'm saying I, meaning whoever's listening, right? You're holding that vision and you're not expecting someone to meet it. You just know that I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to show up as the woman who is with that man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to meet you, and it's not about high or low.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to meet someone in their smallness. I can be compassionate through that. However, I know at the end of the day, a big reason why women complain is because they see more in their man.
They see more
for their man.
Oh, yeah.
For their man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say that you're showing up small and she knows your bigness. She's going to complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
If she knows that you can meet something or create something or build something, it may come off as a complaint rather than saying, baby, you're showing up small right now. You're showing up small. Or noticing that there's a disconnection somewhere, something's unintegrated, and being able to say it with love. I'm currently working on my delivery because I'm very straightforward, and my intention is never to hurt my partner. My intention is never to hurt the people that are listening. My intention is never to hurt the person that I'm in communication with. It's more so around, how can I say this with love, yet I need them to hear me. I need them to hear me.
Yeah.
So you don't want to hear that you're showing up small. Yet at the same time, you know damn well if you're going to show up small in some way, that's going to be like, oh, well, then I'm not going to show up as that. Let me do something about it if they want to. And I say the word expectation because when we have expectations and we're not communicating them, it's not the person letting you down. It's our expectation letting us down. So you can have a standard, meaning this is how and what I see my person showing up as or as, right? Communicating that versus I expect you to show up that way. Because it's the expectation that lets us down. Having standard means I'm okay if it's this person or not. I just know what I want and need by my side. So if it's not that person, that's okay. Honoring that. It's not a selfish thing. And each person that I've been in partnership with, we have beautiful relationship for that reason. I was with someone for over 10 years and we're best friends. And I say that simply because our parting was more so of, I see you and I'm fucking grateful for who you have been, what you have been, how you've shown up, how you've held me through the laughs, through the cries, through every single experience, and honoring that person rather than looking at all the reasons why it didn't go the way that you may have hoped, wished, and prayed that it did. Honoring the person, and that's how you part ways. That is what changes and creates the pivot. I get to honor you even if we're not together. You get to honor me even if we're not together. It changes things. Relationships, marriages, whatever it is, they don't have to end the way that they have been for decades. They don't have to. It doesn't have to be quote unquote ugly. It can be beautiful. You know, like when someone through the community was sharing, oh, you know, she was getting a divorce, and everyone was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, that's beautiful. It's beautiful that you get to now you have your own, because an ending and a beginning are one of the same. There's an ending to each, there's a beginning to each, right? So if we looked at them both as beautiful rather than looking at one as, oh, you know, or what if we're like, right? Invited in a new texture of that, and allowed it to be what it gets to be for other people, and not come from a place of like sadness or shame or pity, even if that's their current experience, but allowing it to be what it wants to be for them, you know. And the same thing with, I personally believe that every relationship can work with choice. It's my own personal belief. If that, as long as you evolve together, if one is evolving, the other one's not evolving, I'm not saying that it can't work, but here's the thing. It won't, because you'll need a bigger container. And you won't be able to see each other.
Right.
In your evolution. So that's why I look at conscious relationship as the turning point in humanity.
Love all that. And, you know, relationship is this whole category plus subcategories. Like we could just go for days just on that alone, right? But
I know I get excited talking about it. You brought it up.
Tell.
Crap.
I can tell. No, I love it. I love it. And you know that you know, I think I'm at that stage in life where I'm truly like seeking more meaningful quality relationships and
Yeah.
building stronger bonds within those that I already have. And what does that look like? Oftentimes it comes down to how are you growing and evolving and going to attract the right type of stuff that you want in your life, right? And you
That's
brought
right.
that up. And if you think you need somebody that's like doing X, Y, Z, and they totally got it all together, it seems like, well, wouldn't you think this you would have to be on your trajectory of leveling up as well, though, in a sense, right? Like there's so many people that want everything to be so perfect and so right, yet their standards for themselves aren't even there yet. And that's where I see
That's
the
right.
disconnect, the surface level stuff, the things that are happening now in the dating world and the relationship. It's like, okay, there are several factors that someone can look for, and that's okay. But there's certain things you have to understand that it can be forgived, and then you can grow together through, right? And that's where a lot of people I don't think understand that, which is why they need people like you to help coach them through it, and and
Well,
other
like us.
resources, and like us, and
Yeah.
and it's
Accountability.
it's something that you want life to be perfect based on your quality of relationships and all that, but like if you go and identify things that way, you also see all the stuff that you're missing that you might want to do or could be doing too. So how do you
Yeah.
have some of these people that you work with, or even for yourself, where you don't get too down on like, hey, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I feel like I can have a partner or a better relationship right now, but it's just not happening for me. Like what do you think with people like that maybe feel ready to an extent, but they're just kind of down and out about like what they have currently? They're not as grateful.
Can you share a little bit more in terms of your question? And I do want to loop back.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
well, actually, before you rephrase, um, I want to touch on something you said that really landed for me.
All right.
It's the same thing when it comes to honoring your yeses and your nos and knowing what your non-negotiables are. So you brought up values, right? What do you value and why, right? Connecting with that deeply, not because it's something that you've always had, but more so something that you're devoted to. If you want someone to devote themselves to you, do you devote yourself to yourself? And creating that relationship with yourself, and then only then can you attract it. And there's a difference between, oh, I'm just going to be this to attract it. It doesn't work that way when it comes to manifesting a partner. It doesn't work that way when it comes to energy. So if you are manipulative, you're going to attract manipulative,
Right.
right? However, at the same time, if you are going to learn and learn to devote yourself and have a conscious relationship and treat your relationship with yourself as sacred, you better believe you're going to attract them through friends, through partnership, through your entire human experience. So learning first, learning what your yes is, what nourishes you, what is your no, what doesn't nourish you, not creating separation, just saying, oh, well, that's my no, and knowing what your non-negotiables are. So for me, I love, like, I just want to be able to look at the stars with someone and go into another universe.
Right.
Yet at the same time, also be able to do the full range of things, right? Like the full range means there's snow on the ground outside. I want to be able to play in that. I also want to be able to play in the rain and play in all the different elements and build a fire and cook together and bake together and do the whole spectrum. However, I do that with myself. So I'm not expecting someone to create that for me. I've already created that with myself. So play with that. Like, it doesn't mean that, oh, I want someone that has this whole entire checklist. What's the checklist for? And the way that I like to see it is, let's just say that your partner, you're building, whoever it is, whether you're in relationship or you are seeking partnership, bring this to your heart. And you don't have to, just notice a space between, and you can take this or leave this. It's something that I personally do, and I take this very closely and seriously. If I died and I have a whole family, right? I have children, and this is how serious I take it. How safe would I feel with this person being the mother and father if I'm no longer here? How would he or she show up? Do they carry the same values? What would be passed on through the generations? And this may create a lot of pressure for whoever's hearing this. Yet that's what we get to create in the world. That's what I'm here to create in the world. Intentionality. What is the intention of this? And if it is a partner that you are calling in, knowing that, hey, he or she may not be that right now, do I see that in their evolution? And how can I hold them in that and to that? Knowing that you're on this path together and you get to hold your vision individually too. It's sacred. It is deeply, 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 deeply sacred.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, that's one of the things that I play with is I know I'm not going to be here forever. Right? I know I'll be the best mother and partner that I possibly can. How can I show up better today? Whether it's 20% or if it's 93%, both need to be enough. And being able to see your partner in that space too. 20% is where you're at today, baby. I see you. I've got the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he's at 90 something percent, great, baby, I can lean back a little bit today. Or not. But just really being able to work together rather than separate.
Yeah.
How can you create a coherence together? One thing I invite couples into, or just community in general, is breathing together like we did in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just take a breath together and feel each other for a moment. And then we start there. That's where we get to build from. That's where we get to have a conversation from. From that place together. It's not separate. And that's how we create a more beautiful world. I say more beautiful world simply because I'm looking outside right now and I see the lake. I see the mountains. I see things that we tend to lose touch with. And there's so many beautiful things within ourselves that we lose touch with.
For sure.
And within each other. How can we see each other as beautiful as we see this right now?
Yeah, truly. I mean, just as you're saying this, it reminds me, like just getting more connected with your environment. And that could be like how your room is, how your house is, how the stuff around you is, outside your door is, just getting closer with your environment and what changes you can make around that. And that's where I see, some of that connection kind of fall off for some, and others just seem so connected. And I think it's so obvious to see somebody that's just so connected to who they are, but what's around them, versus somebody who kind of knows who they are and they're kind of just going with the motions and whatever's working for them. But like they're, there's just an aura, there's an energy, right? And like, I want to maximize that feeling of, yes, I know who I am. Yes, I know how I can change my environment, or I've changed my environment to become this man and to offer this to whoever I'm around. You know what I mean? There's a difference, and I'm seeking that myself personally. And it is, part spiritual, part just personal, part emotional, mental, physical, etc. Trying to figure out what works for you so you can max out life in these instances, in these moments. And even just right there with the breath, like you said, just understanding what it is really around you, and and how you can change your environment. And sometimes we just get so disconnected from that. And I'll start from the scale of the house, right? your mind might be flustered and cluttered, but how is the stuff in your house physically? Like, how does it look? How does it seem? And I'm looking around, I see a little bit of a mess, but it doesn't mean my life's messy, but it just means there's certain things that need to be sorted out. And that's how we all should understand it. There's other things you have control of, that if you truly focus on those things that you do have control of, just start there. As simple as it can be, by just even looking around you. And, because not everybody is deep within their thoughts and know how to interpret that. But you can make a change by just turning the knob up and down a little bit on what you're doing daily, and the things that are immediately around you, like the things that are just, you look around and you see, right? There's so much of that out there that people just, need to bring their awareness levels up. And you just need to start there. And that's one thing I spoke about a lot when I was managing people, is awareness. And just realizing where you're at. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, rejection happens, things happen. There's days you're not going to feel 100 and you're not going to be able to give it 100, right? Like, it's okay. Just be aware, and be aware of what's around you and what you're grateful for, and be aware of these things that are really good in your life, especially on those days that you're down, but any day. I think what took me to a better place is that when I am having those great days, acknowledge that too, because I would always try to lift myself up from the negative days, rather than, pour into the days that are going well and I'm feeling great as well, to acknowledge that. You want to kind of compound these things and have it elevate you that way. And sometimes we just don't take that necessary breath or the time to acknowledge it or write it down or whatever the case is. And, it's so easy to get away from that stuff as well. But just catch yourself there, and that's where I'd like to begin with some things that have helped me, that I've seen help others. And, it's just right there in front of you usually. And but when you go searching deeper, there's levels to this. You're peeling the onions, and of the onion, there's all these different layers, right? And one thing I can say is that, you're probably going to get to a point where you get really, like you said, sad, shameful, just feeling that honesty of the stuff. And it's like, you need to feel that though, because once you feel that, that's where that carryover effect and the action starts to take place, right? It's okay. That's my wake up call I needed. The reason my body felt this emotion, or these tears came out, or I curled up in a fetal position or whatever, is because I had to feel this emotion. Like, once I deep dove and felt it, why can't I say it out loud? And when I do say it out loud, why do I feel this way? What is that telling me? And a lot of people just, need some of that reflection to take place. And it's just, where's that space? Where do they find it? And it helped me so much. Sounds like it helped you, so much more, in that sense too, where I just hope the best for everybody. So what are some steps what are some things you think could help people around, like your relationships around you? Because I understand the focus on yourself and how you can improve and acknowledge these things and know yourself even better. But what are some things you're seeing work with relationships of, like, I don't want to say expectations, but things you can do intentionally when it involves others to help yourself grow as well?
One of my favorite things to do is look into other people's eyes
I like that.
and breathe together. It can be in partnership where you're looking into each other's left eye. And I know I shared it before, I'll repeat it here. Looking at each other and saying, in your mind, it could be, I love you. It can just be breathing and admiring the person before you, feeling them, knowing they feel too. being with their heart as much as you can and seeing them as deeply as you can, breathing them in. And even for that moment, just feeling connected to them, whatever that is. And I do this at every event where I have people go in pairs with someone they don't know. I intentionally do that. So then we open ourselves to that. And we're going, quote unquote, outside of our comfort zone between looking into each other's eyes, which we've lost touch with, or we'll jump with someone that we do know because it's more comforting. It feels more safe. So it's really the invitation bringing you into how can I feel safe, opening, softening with someone I don't know. So then you can open yourself to meeting more people that you don't know. We need each other. We need each other. So if it's anything, it's even in partnership or in community, someone's talking, look into their left eye. I know a lot of the times we're like this, you know, just look into their left eye and breathe. Just breathe, be present. Don't think about how you're going to respond or what you're going to say. Just listen to them. Just listen. Be present with them. They deserve your presence. Right? Just like you deserve theirs. And another part is the 3 pillars that are in somatic healing is breath, sound, and movement. If you're moving through shame or fear, breathe even for 2 minutes. Breathe as the fearful person, that fearful thought, right? What are you scared of? And being with it. So if it's and it's scary, move like it, move your body like it, and sound like it. If it's shame and it's giving yourself the permission to breathe like it, sound like it, move like it. That actually moves the energy that's stuck up and through your body by feeling. If a cry comes out, if a laugh comes out, if a yell comes out, let it be there. Sometimes it'll be like a little until you get used to it, and sometimes it's like like you'll give yourself the permission to feel more and get in relationship with it. Get in relationship with the tiger, with the fire, with the bird, whatever that embodiment is, and move like it. Feel like it. Like allow yourself the permission to be in the embodiment of whatever it wants to move through you, because we are a transmission. So since we are transmission and we don't allow ourselves to feel and we cut it off, it's kind of like a hose. The water can't come through. Second you let it open just a little bit, the energy can flow. It can circulate. It can move. That's where creation gets birth. That's where life and new ways get alive. They become alive there. And another thing that I love to invite people into is you may not like how you showed up one day and all the things, or what you said before, it really landed. It's really just around, I'm learning. If you showed up a certain way, I'm learning. And it takes 90 seconds for that chemical to fully be released. So when I, quote unquote, when something's happening in my body, or if I met someone new and I showed up a little, like if I'm noticing my ego pop up, or if I notice that I didn't show up the way that I wanted to, breathing into that and not beating yourself up right away. Wait for that 90 seconds of, oh, I feel good. Oh, I'm learning. And really moving your body and feeling your body and just like allowing it to move so it doesn't get stuck in your body. The chemical gets stuck in our body, which is where we tend to compound, and that keeps these pockets in our body. So then we're scared to speak on stage again, or we're scared to meet someone new, or we're scared to go on that first date, or we're scared to do something else. It's because of we stop breathing and it gets stuck. Breathe into the experience and like cheer yourself on for the first 90 seconds at least. I like to give myself like after I do anything and I'm like, oh, I don't do that. Oh, I could have showed up better here. I could have done that. I could have done this. I'm more of like, yes, let's freaking do it. And then after I'm like, okay, let's see and give yourself feedback.
Hmm.
I'm learning. That's where the forgiveness comes in. I'm learning, making it fun, right? And
Hmm.
placing yourself on your lap and saying that it's okay, holding yourself like a child, knowing that it's okay, little boy, little girl, whoever's listening. And for you and I, like I place my inner child on my lap and if I feel like I'm pushing her away, I ask, "What's here, baby?" And she'll say, "I'm fucking scared. It's scary. I don't want to go into that room right now." Or I don't want to do that. What's here, baby? What's here? And really holding a safe space and a container so the masculine, the father, to feel the mother and nurture her and him.
Hmm.
So that's how you weave both poles. Hold a container and let her feel, let him feel. I'm learning. So breaths down movement are your friends. I'm learning is your friend. I say self-love and all the things. The deeper that you see yourself, you will be able to see others more deeply. So you meeting yourself with grace is also meeting someone else with grace because you're learning through you. You'll be a lot more compassionate and empathetic for the people around you. You're not joining in their suffering. You're seeing them for it and saying, I fucking love you anyway.
Man, I love that. I love that. I love going deep with Brittany here. This is great. Like
Thank you.
I get lost in it. I'm like over here breathing, catching myself breathing. I catch myself just in deep thought and just thinking about all the
Mm,
good stuff, you know, like all the things that are exciting and to look forward to in life. And you know, it's
yeah,
great. And you know, it's special. It's a special moment right here. But
yeah.
there's so many questions obviously I want to ask, but you know, I'm going to save those for our next time we
Yeah.
get together and really dive even deeper. But
Mm.
what are some things that you specifically, and maybe at this stage in your life, what are some things that you're looking for that maybe haven't happened yet?
Mm. Hmm. What I feel called sharing is what I'm currently working on and opening myself to more people.
Hmm.
So I'm typically the holder in the space, the facilitator, the teacher, and being in new communities for me is something that I've really pushed myself this year,
Hmm.
2024. I've placed myself in very different environments and in spaces that I'm like, you know,
Yeah, that's great.
and and we tend to self-sabotage ourselves and get scared and avoid the things that are pivotal for our evolution in this experience.
Hmm.
So for me, um, I would say this specific season of my life is so sacred. They all are. Yet this one is the three words are community is medicine. It's medicine. And whether I'm the facilitator or whether I'm the quote unquote participant, it's the same. It's the same. We're all learning from each other. We're all teaching each other. So for me, I'm always learning. I love being the student with the hat. I love being the teacher with the hat, playing with the different hats and the different roles and knowing that there's no hierarchy.
Hmm.
So I just came from an event. My company just won an award and was featured in a magazine that Pharrell was the cover of. And I got to meet his team. I got to meet Shark Tank. I got to meet Oprah's team
Wow.
and her husband. And there was a big part of me that was very like, And when I say that, it was more so I needed to breathe into the experience
Right.
and know that you're not all that different from anyone on this world. We all have, we may look different, our stories may look different, our experiences may look different. We're all the same though. We all yearn for love, we've all felt pain. So if we can see each other as that, then we can be with each other as that. So seeing each other as that, to be with each other as that, is the peace. And so for me, to answer your question short, is this season of my life is placing myself in environments that I typically would say that I would typically sabotage myself into.
Mm.
So I know that this year I have bookings throughout the year that I am to show up for. And my mantra has been, help me see it's not about me. Help me see it's not about me. We are transmissions for God's work. So it's not about you, yet it is. And what I mean by that is we are in our own way. I'm in my own way. So when you get out of the way, then God can show you the way. It's only then you can be shown the way, is if you get out of the way, because it's our plan that gets in the way of God's plan. So with that, I ask myself, well, how am I showing up right now? I'm being really honest. And attending to that, being with that, and allowing yourself to be a transmission, placing yourself in uncomfortable places and saying yes to it. There's a difference between discomfort and out of alignment. Feeling in my body, we're doing like muscle testing, but more so feeling into my body and saying, how does this feel in my body? Is it fear, or is it like is it shrinking, or is it, oh, this is scary? Yet it's an exciting scary. That's where discernment comes in. So placing yourself in those different experiences, even where I am right now, being in community, that's the medicine. Crying with each other, laughing together, cooking together, playing together, walking together, being barefoot together, being in high heels together. There is literally no right or wrong. It all gets to just be. Be in your fullest expression. Be in your full range. And honoring yourself in that, honoring others in that.
Absolutely. And
we get caught up in our judgment.
No, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, that so much that I read speaks on that, and so much that I listen to speaks on that. You know, you just have to understand that, like, the main thing getting in your way is yourself. And it's these thoughts, these feelings, these emotions, these things that are coming up and bubbling up in different scenarios you run into in life, right? And you know, one of the main ways you combat that is put yourself more so towards that, lean in towards that stuff that's painful, that hurts. Yeah, you know, so you got to lean in that. But no, I mean, one of the things that helped me as well was when you kind of write your story, right? Like write it all out. Like, what, from when you were little to now, what are these things that have impacted your life, these memories of good and bad things, and these things that have helped mold you to who you are or what you were going through at that time. There are so many of these things that you tend to just overlook, but they were more significant than you gave them credit for then. So why not now? And when doing that exercise, I just realized, holy crap, there's a couple things here that I need to dive into a little, that is part of my makeup today. And once I did that, it just opened up my eyes a lot more. So there's another exercise, just so anybody listening, that I like to use. You mentioned what honor you guys received the award, 2024 Impact Company, Most Valuable Mission, leading our world forward. I assume that's what the one you're referring to, correct?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So congratulations there. And it's just such an honor to be with you today too, to share this and share with the world and whoever's listening. And, just it goes to show, that if you put your passion, your energy, these driving forces of what make you towards something and let that grow, next thing you know, you're winning awards or something, or you're getting all the other stuff, the accolades. But the main thing is just, are you growing more into who you are? And that's that's the ultimate thing. But it goes to show anybody can do it. Not to say you're just anybody, but there's a reason we cross paths, right? There's a reason we're talking here today, speaking here today, and there's just something when you put that energy out into the world, it gets reciprocated, and sometimes it's just not right then, right there, right now, right? And that's what we all have to learn. It's you start with your reasons, and then you feed off that, and you build it up, and we just need to realize that that's one thing too with the guests that I have on. They're successful from a external view, right, of what they're doing, who they are, what they're about, but it took so much behind the scenes work and under the just under who they are to actually get to where they're at. It took so long, so much effort, so much energy, and just what I'm getting out of everything you're talking about is how are you approaching that? How are you looking at these things? Are you taking the necessary time to actually use that for the right energy in your life and to discover more and constantly grow and learn? And that's what we all need to hear. All the stuff you're saying is what every individual out there needs to hear. And this has just been honestly epic today because there's so much good content you've given for free here. So I thank you so much for that. And that so many people will benefit from. And I said thank you because it's helping me, but it's also going to help others listening to just realize there's ways of thinking, there's questions to ask yourself, there's tangible things you can do, there's places you could put your energy or your focus so things flow the way, towards the things that you were meant to discover, right? And that's where I just want us all to start that journey, if they haven't already, or if they're on their journey and really starting to dig in, is take some of these things you mentioned today and just drive it home. Feed into that. There's a reason you're looking at it. There's a reason you're there at that space. There's a reason. And what is that reason? What does it look like? What does it look like for you? What do you want to attract into your life? And you've given us simple practices for that today, simple exercises for us today. And, it starts with a breath, right? And I'm glad you've given life to all this today. This is an impactful conversation that we could spend a lot more time on. Honestly, we could spend the rest of our lives on. But I'm hoping people that are listening are getting so much out of this, either taking notes or just playing it back, because there's so many great things you've said that are just so practical and such a way to manage where they're at right now and where they're going, where they're heading, right? And I was going to ask you too, you already said it proactively. I was going to be what type of advice would you give someone doing this and that? But you've literally done that the whole time. And I love that. It's so natural for you. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so thankful for you and all the things you're doing and achieving and all the things that you haven't done yet that you're about to accomplish, right? And it's just so exciting to be part of that as well. I'm here for you. with anything you may need. But I do want to spend a moment here where you can let people know a little bit more about how to find you, what you're involved with, and where to look for you, if you don't mind sharing some of that information. And I'll put it
Beautiful. Thank you.
down as well for people to have in the description and what have you. But if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you for that. Thank you. One thing that comes through is there's nothing that you need to fix. And second part of that is thearmcollective.com is where you can find everything and anything, whether that's more about my story, more about the legacy as itself, as it's being built. The third venture that we're on, which I'm excited to share. We can dive into that in the next episode. Free meditations, embodiment practices, articles. There's so many different things and resources that are available, whether it's through the Arm Collective or in general, yet not to get so quote unquote lost in the consumption, but more so of trying things on and playing there. So that's what comes through for me, and we're all learning. We're all on our path, and just allow the journey to be the journey.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I love this here today. Thank you so much. Like I said, anything I can do to help spread the word, spread your message, spread what you're doing, I'm here for it. I'm here for you. But I'm looking forward to the next time we see each other in person, but also the next time we can spend more time just going through these things that are so important with life that most of us, I wouldn't say tend to overlook, but probably need to spend more time within. And I'm looking forward to that next time with you to share other pieces of information that's helpful for others. And just thank you for that today, because it was so impactful. And trust me, I want to ask you a million more questions, but we'll save that. And and y'all check her out, Brittany Mondido. She is amazing. She's all over the place. If you couldn't tell, she's hustling. She's out there. You can find her. I'll put it in the links and everything else, so you can see what she's working on. See if you can be a part of her coaching and her experiences that she has available now, and all the different resources. So I'll have that there. But this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and sending blessings and nourishment and love to every single person that hears us. So thank you for holding the space and inviting us into this portal during this time.
I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night. But watch me, baby, I'ma take it there. Tell ya I'ma stay the path. Tell ya I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very